Well, it happens. Nintendo recently announced the discontinuation of Wii U and 3DS eShops, making those two consoles officially obsolete. Although we were expecting something like this, it is kind of a tragedy. Tons of digital games will be lost, including a huge amount of legacy content available via Virtual Console that we can't access on Switch's online bare bones offerings. While thinking about the official death of those two pieces of hardware, it came to my mind that both of them were representatives of a gameplay concept that is also obsolete for Nintendo nowadays: dual screen. Hey everyone, it's me, Luis Estrela from Nintendo Everything, and today let's talk about the dual screen concept that Nintendo used on DS, 3DS, Wii U, and for some reason Game & Watch. Let's talk about the best and worst parts about it, and if it is a good idea for Nintendo to revisit that concept in the future. We all know how much Nintendo loves innovation, being different, being unique. It's part of the driving force behind the company's philosophy. Of course, it's a risky attitude that does not always work out for them, but when it does, well, I think it's worth the risk. That's the case with the DS, the best-selling console of all time. Imagine that instead of a single screen, which is the way that we usually consume things, we had two. What is the immediate benefits of that? Well, of course, now I can show you two different things at the same time. Maybe I want to show you footage of gameplay and also my face. But there's a problem. If you are a human being, as I assume you probably are, I can't ask you to pay full attention to both screens at the same time. Your attention is now divided. That's the dilemma of dual screen game design. And the best solution is simple. Make both screens work together, with one complementing the other. That's why the second screen usually has touchscreen support, to differentiate itself. In Professor Layton, you have the explanation for the puzzle on the top screen and a visual representation of it at the bottom. This arrangement is so comfortable that even in the most complicated puzzles, you will always feel as if you have the best tools available to solve them. And usually, that's it. The second screen is an accessory, a tool. In games focused on action such as Zelda, Mario, or even GTA, the map will always be displayed for the player. In strategy games like Advance Wars or Fire Emblem, all the information that you need will also be readily available. It's a toolbox, always open for you during gameplay. The reason that I think this was actually a game changer on the DS is because it works wonders for portable games. It's the element that made the jump from Game Boy Advance so huge, because now handheld experiences could be way more complex. Look at The World Ends With You, Zelda Phantom Hourglass and Spirit's Track, Brain Age, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, all of those were designed with two screens in mind, usually featuring puzzles and strategy, so you could make full use of your toolbox. It's not that we needed something like this, but when I think back about those experiences, it's so nostalgic and special to remember those mechanics. It really made the DS stand out at the time. But here we also start to find a problem. A lot of those games that I'm mentioning were very experimental in their gameplay ideas. And it was easy to be experimental on the DS, for two reasons. First, dual screen was a cool novelty at the time. It was a selling point if a product used the new gimmick. But the second and more important reason, it's easy to be experimental in a portable environment, running in very modest hardware. The costs were considerably low. I don't think even Nintendo would dare to make a mainline Zelda game where you control the character solely via touch controls. Well, they made Skyward Sword, so I'm not 100% certain. But I think my point persists. The DS had a very experimental nature that created unique experiences, and that's one of the reasons why it worked so well. But when the same concept was brought to other consoles, it was really different. On the 3DS, the concept worked exactly in the same way, but developers weren't as excited with the concept anymore, and smartphones started to provide similar experiences with touchscreen. Most of the games that heavily used the second screen on the 3DS were sequels to series that started on the DS. However, the biggest failure of the concept happened on the Wii U. The Wii U is the perfect example of Nintendo's philosophy going really bad. We are not talking about portable gaming anymore here. If you want to change what screen you're looking at, you won't move just your eyes, but your head, because they are literally disconnected. But calm down, Nintendo wasn't dumb. If you watch the pre-E3 directs that Iwata presented in 2012, it's clear that the vision that they had with Wii U, it's very different from the DS. Their biggest selling point was asymmetric gameplay, which was something that you could understand perfectly while playing Nintendo Land. Nintendo Land is probably the best tech demo that Nintendo ever created to show off the capabilities of a console. For real, minigames that worked as proof that showing different things on each screen could create new experiences. So many ideas are packed in that game. I remember that I was really excited for Wii U's future after playing that. But nothing happened. Not even Nintendo managed to come out with ideas that really justify the console's existence. The huge majority of games barely use the gamepad, and that's why a lot of them are available easily on Switch. To make things worse, the ones that should sell the concepts managed to completely destroy it. Yep, I'm looking at you, Star Fox Zero, and I enjoyed that game to a certain extent, but when I stop to think about the effort that I make to play it, constantly trying to look at the TV and the gamepad at the same time, it makes me wonder how something like this was actually published. Listen, I loved my Wii U. I loved the inventory on my gamepads while playing the Zelda remasters. I loved to create levels on Mario Maker with the touchscreen. I even enjoy playing Pikmin 3 with the combo gamepad plus Wii remote and nunchuck. But the truth is, the console was too janky. It was something too much complicated to be commercialized. Actually, what I enjoyed the most on the Wii U is how weird it is. Almost like a niche console. And I think it's impossible to convince a big company to launch a main hardware that will be a niche console. So the final results for dual screen implementation. DS, a huge success. 3DS, Wii U, a beautiful failure. Looking from this perspective, it's clear that it is a concept that will probably never come back, because it went downhill from the DS. Even trying to think about solutions such as using smartphones, what would be the benefit of that? We already saw what happened with Wii U, and a smartphone would be even worse. Imagine saying, hey, to play this you have to connect your smartphone to your console first. It's too much trouble for little to no use. I think that the concept worked as a one-time idea, just like the 3D from 3DS. When you look at the Switch, it is a combination of some of the best ideas that Nintendo ever had, such as the portability and motion controls. But there's only one screen to play, because it was ultimately decided that dual screen is not worth the trouble. Now, probably the biggest problem right now. How will we replay those games on future consoles? Even if you could make some adaptations, the original experience will be lost. The coolness of playing Dragon Quest V on a DS and seeing the scenarios split between two screens, how can you recreate that? I don't think it's possible. However, I don't think ideas like dual screen should be avoided because of that. I'm really happy that consoles like Wii U and the 3DS existed. What other companies would create something like that? I have so many fantastic memories with Nintendo gimmicks. DS, Wii, 3DS, Wii U, all of them. The Switch is awesome, and I'm happy that it is a successful console. But sometimes I love to go back and play some of my older consoles. To this day, Nintendo Land is the most requested local multiplayer game in my house. Every time my friends come over, I have to connect my slow and full of cables Wii U to the TV, charge the gamepads, and search batteries for the Wii modes. It's troublesome, but it is also worth it. So I don't think the problem is the fact that those consoles were created. The problem is Nintendo shutting down their digital stores so soon, transforming them into obsolete machines, and making it really difficult to access a part of the company's history. The saddest part is not the fact that Nintendo will never produce another console with two screens, but that it will be really difficult to revisit some of those experiences without a lot of money to spend on eBay. And that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!